For Roman Dmitri, the upper dantian was indeed the key to a revolutionary breakthrough in magic. When mana flowed through the middle dantian and erupted from the upper dantian, the resulting destructive power was far greater than before. The speed at which magic was processed became so rapid that it almost felt as if the casting process had been skipped entirely. This new method using the upper dantian made spell casting nearly 2 to 3 times faster. And even when casting spells of the same circle, the difference in power was tremendous. Surprised, Edwin Hector thought to himself that this was how magic could truly evolve by incorporating the upper dantian. If this secret were ever revealed, mages hungry for knowledge, and perhaps even every magic tower across the continent, would rush to Roman Dmitri. Roman Dmitri then told Edwin Hector that, as he could clearly see, he had no reason to share the secret of the upper dantian with him. Frustrated, Edwin Hector realized that there was no longer any justification to persuade Roman Dmitri. Then, Roman Dmitri stated that there was one possible condition. If the kingdom of Hector were to swear a vassal's oath of loyalty, he would not only share the knowledge of the upper dantian, but would also take responsibility for Hector's future. Smiling faintly, Roman reflected that Edwin Hector had always been an exceptional talent, from his surprise tactics and bold decision-making to his strength as a war mage who fought on the front lines. A commander who personally led his troops was truly invaluable. It was arrogance to believe that one person could handle everything alone. For when shortcomings appeared, the right path was to accept those who could compensate for them. That, Roman believed, was how to shape a proper future. Meanwhile, Edwin Hector reflected quietly. Not once in his life had he experienced a truly peaceful day. From his childhood until the time he earned the title of Star of Hector, he had endured countless hardships to protect his small nation. All Edwin had ever wished for was that at the end of it all, he would find peace. In this cruel reality, Hector might finally find peace. That hope had become the very meaning of his existence. Gathering his resolve, Edwin told Roman that if he would promise Hector's future, Edwin would gladly offer his loyalty to Lord Roman. That day, Dmitri not only gained the kingdom of Hector, but also gained the man named Edwin Hector. Later that day, Dmitri received an unexpected third guest. Marco Valentino arrived without warning, exclaiming that this was all too much. He said he had tried his best to hold back, but asked when on earth Roman would finally craft the new sword. Valentino confessed that he hadn't wanted to seem desperate, so he had waited for Roman to bring it up himself. Lately, he had been so stressed about the matter that he could hardly sleep. He asked Roman if he truly understood how he felt. Hearing this, Roman thought to himself that Mark Valentino was indeed an amusing person. He explained that he had planned to forge the sword. As soon as the situation stabilized, Roman Dmitri decided to personally test certain aspects of the process. He assured Marquis Valentino that he would only need to wait 1 month. Overjoyed by this promise, Marquis Valentino left in high spirits. Soon after, Roman's butler, Hans, informed him that the Golden Bank had sent 1 million gold coins. Seeing the transfer, Roman reflected that although he had harbored doubts, the Golden Bank had faithfully honored its promise. Indeed, if they failed to keep their pledges, the many oaths the bank had accumulated would lose their value. Now that things were beginning to settle, it was Roman's turn to act. The scene then shifted to the training grounds where Chris was instructing new recruits. Nearby, Roman told Hans that he planned to remain inside the workshop for about a month. If any non-urgent matters arose, Hans was to handle them himself. Hans acknowledged this order respectfully. As Roman entered the workshop, he reflected that forging swords was his truest calling. Identity, something he would continue to do until the day he died. Each act of creation symbolized how far he had risen and represented the ideals he pursued in this life. He wondered what kind of sword would emerge if he forged one using the flames of a demon. Elsewhere at the Golden Bank, Hoffman was fuming that Roman Dmitri had dared to threaten someone like him. He thought to himself that Roman had chosen the wrong opponent, and vowed to show him what it truly meant to oppose the so-called demon of gold. Hoffman then asked his subordinate about the materials he had requested earlier. The subordinate reported that there were currently 4 major firms trading large quantities of iron with the Dmitri family: Marquis Valentino of the Caro Kingdom, Zenith of the Kronos Empire, Muriel of the Valdala Empire, and finally Vincent of the Kingdom Union. One subordinate further reported that these magnates, who controlled each country's trade, supplied 70 of Dmitri's iron. He added that Zenith of Kronos had cut off trade after the war. When hearing this, Hoffman thought that as customers abandoned them one by one, he would wait to see whether Roman would come groveling to apologize. Hoffman then instructed his subordinate that their first target would be Valentino and ordered him to book a warp to Caro immediately. The start of his revenge, he decided, would not be Kronos or Valhalla, but the betrayal of a close confidant. The scene shifted to Marquis Valentino's mansion in Caro, where he welcomed Hoffman. They exchanged greetings. Hoffman inquired who accompanied the Marquis. Valentino replied that the man was Count Fabius, and explained that he thought it would be useful to introduce Fabius to Hoffman during their conversation, so he had invited him to join them. Valentino added that if Fabius's presence made Hoffman uncomfortable, the Count could excuse himself. Hoffman replied that there was no need for that. Valentino thanked him for his consideration. As they sat together, Hoffman explained that the reason for his visit concerned Dmitri. Identity, something he would continue to do until the day he died. Each act of creation symbolized how far he had risen and represented the ideals he pursued in this life. He wondered what kind of sword would emerge if he forged one using the flames of a demon. Elsewhere at the Golden Bank, Hoffman was fuming that Roman Dmitri had dared to threaten someone like him. He thought to himself that Roman had chosen the wrong opponent, and vowed to show him what it truly meant to oppose the so-called demon of gold. Hoffman then asked his subordinate about the materials he had requested earlier. The subordinate reported that there were currently 4 major firms trading large quantities of iron with the Dmitri family: Marquis Valentino of the Cairo Kingdom, Zenith of the Kronos Empire, Muriel of the Valhalla Empire, and finally Vincent of the Kingdom Union. The subordinate further reported that these magnates, who controlled each country's trade, supplied 70 of Dmitri's iron. He added that Zenith of Kronos had cut off trade after the war. When hearing this, Hoffman thought that as customers abandoned them one by one, he would wait to see whether Roman would come groveling to apologize. Hoffman then instructed his subordinate that their first target would be Valentino, and ordered him to book a warp to Cairo immediately. The start of his revenge, he decided, would not be Kronos or Valhalla, but the betrayal of a close confidant. The scene shifted to Marquis Valentino's mansion in Cairo, where he welcomed Hoffman. They exchanged greetings. Hoffman inquired who accompanied the Marquis. Valentino replied that the man was Count Fabius and explained that he thought it would be useful to introduce Fabius to Hoffman during their conversation, so he had invited him to join them. Valentino added that if Fabius's presence made Hoffman uncomfortable, the Count could excuse himself. Hoffman replied that there was no need for that. Valentino thanked him for his consideration. As they sat together, Hoffman explained that the reason for his visit concerned Dmitri. A tense atmosphere filled the room as matters related to Roman Dmitri were discussed. Marquis Valentino, a key figure in the Valentino domain, asked for clarification on the gravity of the situation. Hoffman, a representative of the powerful Golden Bank, stated that he had a serious problem with Roman Dmitri. While emotional clashes were common in their line of work, he conceded that Roman had gone beyond mere quarrels and had personally threatened him. With a grave expression, Hoffman declared that in his view, the Golden Bank and Dmitri were finished. He avowed that he would employ any means necessary to exact his revenge. He emphasized that his first visit was to Marquis Valentino, owing to their established relationship. Valentino considered the demand for a moment, then was genuinely shocked when Hoffman told him to cease all dealings with Dmitri. Hoffman further explained that if the Marquis complied, he would waive the interest on a significant loan Valentino had taken, interest that had been deferred over the next 10 years. However, if Valentino refused, he would be required to repay the debt immediately. In a display of loyalty, Valentino apologized and asserted that he could not betray Dmitri. He insisted that he would repay the Golden Bank's loan as soon as possible. Throughout this exchange, Count Fabius sat calmly, sipping his tea. Hearing Valentino's refusal, Hoffman grew angry. He warned that if the offer was rejected, not only Dmitri but the entire Valentino domain could be ruined. Enraged by the threat, Valentino ordered Hoffman to leave. He retorted that if Lord Roman Dmitri were to mark the Marquis for death, he would be unable to even commission a sword. He questioned if Hoffman would take responsibility for such a consequence. Valentino then instructed his subordinates to politely see Hoffman out, and escort him from the mansion. As Hoffman departed, frustration clouded his mind. He thought bitterly about their audacity. For a moment, he questioned whether targeting Marquis Valentino first had been a mistake. He mused that through the Cairo Rebellion and the Kronos War, Valentino's bond with Dmitri must have only grown stronger. Hoffman scoffed to himself, thinking that the old Marquis had grown sentimental with age, and trusting the future of his family to such a relationship. He could not accept the offer. Hoffman was taken aback. Count Muriel explained that while he respected Hoffman deeply, he was a merchant above all else. First and foremost, the Dmitri family's steel was irreplaceable. It was the highest quality in the entire continent. The warriors of Valhalla refused to use anything else. And without the Dmitri family's supply, his family could never hope to monopolize the market. That alone was the first reason. Hearing this, Hoffman thought to himself that he could understand the logic, but wondered if it was truly worth turning their backs on the Golden Bank. Count Muriel continued, saying the second and more crucial reason was that the Dmitri family had led a revolution in swordsmanship and shared their knowledge generously with others. The Muriel family's prosperity depended on the strength of its warriors. Suppose the Dmitri family's influence now when real military power was shifting in their favor would be reckless. Count Muriel asked Hoffman what he thought would happen if they went against that current. Finally, with a solemn expression, Count Muriel bowed and asked Hoffman to understand his position for the sake of their ancestors' long-standing friendship. As Hoffman watched the Count's respectful gesture, he realized why Roman Dmitri had been so confident all along. Later, as his carriage rattled along the road, Hoffman brooded. Only one person remained, Vincent, the great financier of the Kingdom Alliance. Unlike the others, Vincent was just like Hoffman, a true merchant driven not by loyalty, but by profit. Hoffman was certain that not everything would go Roman's way this time. When he finally arrived, Hoffman was surprised once again. "Why is Count Fabius here again?" he muttered, stunned. With a faint knowing smile, Count Fabius greeted him, saying, "We meet again, Mr. Hoffman." Vincent explained that both Count Fabius and Hoffman had scheduled meetings that day, so he had arranged a three-way discussion as they seemed to have come for the same purpose. "Shall we proceed together?" Vincent asked calmly. As the three men sat, Hoffman recounted everything in detail, his conflict with Roman, his intention to isolate the Dmitri family, and the collapse of their prior relationship. He assured Vincent that the partnership between the Dmitri family and the Golden Bank was over and would never be restored. Hoffman proposed that Vincent halt all trade with the Dmitri family, and in return, the Golden Bank would welcome the Vincent family into its elite circle of Golden Line members. He explained that this status allowed members to borrow vast sums in their own name, a privilege few in the world could claim. Moreover, the Golden Bank would purchase Vincent's goods at favorable rates and connect him with existing Golden Line companies for profitable ventures. Hearing the offer, Vincent leaned back, thoughtful. In his mind, he saw the potential outcome clearly. Two birds with one stone. The proposal was even better than he had imagined. Vincent admitted that it was an attractive offer, but he cautioned that the Vincent family's power base lay within the Kingdom Alliance and they could not simply ignore the political consequences. Hoffman countered by asking how long Vincent intended to remain tied to a minor kingdom, pointing out that the Golden Bank would establish a stronger base for the Vincent family in Kronos or Valhalla. Vincent then turned to Count Fabius and asked his opinion. With a faint smile, Count Fabius replied that the proposal looked very favorable to him as well. Both Vincent and Hoffman were taken aback by his response. Puzzled, Vincent pressed Count Fabius. Would he truly be comfortable with Vincent joining forces with the Golden Bank? Count Fabius answered that the Dmitri family had no intention of granting the Vincent family any special favors. Nor could the Dmitri family match the terms offered by the Golden Bank. Yet, Count Fabius raised a different question. Were all members of the Golden Line genuinely treated equally? Vincent asked what Count Fabius meant, and Count Fabius urged him to face reality. Did Vincent really believe the Golden Bank would stand by the Vincent family unwaveringly as a faithful ally? Was the bank not the sort to smile in prosperity and turn away at the first sign of trouble? Hoffman's temper flared. He snapped at Count Fabius to stop speaking nonsense, insisting that the Golden Bank was a power built on credit and influence. Count Fabius, unruffled, countered that the Dmitri family never betrayed a relationship once it had been formed, and that was the only guarantee he could offer the Vincent family. Frustrated, Hoffman warned Vincent not to be swayed by empty rhetoric and reminded him how valuable membership in the Golden Line truly was. Vincent sat silent for a moment, weighing both proposals, the Golden Bank's lucrative but politically risky offer, and Count Fabius's promise of steadfast loyalty through the Dmitri family. The Golden Bank carried the danger of discrimination or betrayal. The Dmitri family, by contrast, had shown a record of honoring bonds. Finally, Vincent rose from his seat and decided to accept Count Fabius's offer. He declared that he would stand with the Dmitri family. Hoffman's face went pale with rage as he demanded how Vincent could so brazenly reject his proposal. He warned Vincent to remember this affront. Hoffman himself would work to bring down both the Vincent family and the Dmitri family together. Count Fabius, angered by the outburst, told Hoffman to lower his voice unless he wished to risk his life.